Step into the light where the wild ones roam, where the heart speaks loud, calling this place home. We break the rules, we paint the sky, ridiculously you. We were born to fly. Ooh, it's ridiculously you.
Hey everyone, it is Julie May, and welcome to the Ridiculously You podcast. Today's guest is what happens when righteous rage gets a ring light, a business license, and a TikTok channel that makes the patriarchy sweat just a little, like a smidge. So, Beth Magnetic is a single mom, a YouTuber, an unapologetic truth teller who is, allergic to shrinking, and she's in a full-blown movement. She is the founder of The Profitable Protest, a brand incubator helping progressive changemakers build businesses that aren't just successful, but like fucking necessary. She also runs the Mormon True Crime TikTok. And what else do you do with Mormon True Crime? I've followed it on TikTok. It is so brilliant. I love that channel. So if you've ever wondered if you're too much or your politics or whatever is just too loud or your desire to be seen and make money is selfish, Beth is here to flip that script upside down, hand you a microphone, because selling isn't selling lives. Selling saves lives. So welcome, Beth.
Thank you. That was quite the intro. I am so impressed.
I
That
love our
sounded
intros. I love our intros. People are always like a little nervous when I'm like, I'm not going to read your bio, but it's going to do the thing. And then it's
no,
like, oh
it's
no, the
fun.
the intros are fucking great. They're fucking
That
great.
was fantastic. I loved
Yeah,
it.
I love it. So I want to hear a little bit more about like your philosophy on business, because some of the things that you said when you handed in your speaker application and some of the other things that I've seen you say online, I'm like, your approach to selling specifically, I think is very, very interesting, because so many people out there, they have these businesses and they're like, they are nervous to sell, and they're like, what if people don't like it, and what if they don't buy what I have, and what if my services aren't good enough? And you're just like very brazen with sales. Can you tell us a little bit about how like you came to your standpoint about sales, and tell us a little bit more about that?
So, uh, to kind of just give you my stance right now, so you know where we're headed on that journey. My stance, honestly, is that it's our moral duty to sell. It's our moral duty to make money. It's our moral duty to funnel as much money out of the oligarchy and out of the patriarchy and into our pockets, and circulate it and create a new economy within people who are looking to actually make a difference in this world. And so instead of looking at sales as something that is wrong and bad, it's something that is a duty that I have to future generations and to women in the world right now, to LGBTQ people, and other marginalized people. It's my job to make money so that I can make a difference and build this other economy to start to rival what's happening out there in the world right now. So for me, this began, I was actually a very I would never actually say that I was a conservative person, but I was married to a conservative person. And so I was very much trying to fit in a box to be the wife that he would want.
Yeah.
And so I really held myself back in a lot of ways and kept trying to like fit into the trad wife box. And I did the best thing that I could ever do for myself, and I got divorced. And it was something that has allowed me to free myself to actually be who I am. And instantly, I like to say that I gave up and lost my white male privilege card in that divorce, and it made me realize, holy shit, people are not exaggerating. The system is actually rigged against people. This is not like a you can mindset yourself your way through it. Not to say that you shouldn't have do mindset work and you shouldn't do these things, but we're playing a completely different game than somebody who is a white man with a advanced degree in a field where he's going to just be able to just go out there and make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so realizing that uh, to me, making money and becoming profitable is a form of resistance.
Hmm.
Making sure that I am financially taken care of so that I have the mental, emotional, social, financial bandwidth to do more out there in the world is my moral duty. And it's one of the best ways that I can show up in the world to be able to help marginalized people.
So you talked about when you got divorced that you handed in your white male privilege card. What were the actual things you noticed? So you get divorced, you were trying to be trad wife, which honestly to me feels a little funny. I'm like, my mental image of trying to put you in a trad wife role seems amusing just because it
I
is so
tried.
like not who your energy is. And so like my brain going, man, that must have felt so out of alignment until it was like, I'm gonna break out of this. Okay, so you break out of it, you're like trying to do your thing, you're trying to have a business. What did you notice? Like what were the things that occurred to you that you were like, oh, this is not the system that is actually working for me?
I was given a lot more opportunity, and clients far more readily signed up with me when I was married, which I don't know if it's an unconscious thing. I don't know if it's just like a change in my energy thing, but clients, they love to buy from people um who are in abundance, right? And it's really easy to be in abundance when you have a man paying your bills.
Mm,
And so that's something that I want people to just really wrap their heads around is that a lot of the people that you see who are super successful or online are successful because that initial bandwidth isn't being eaten up with paying the electric bill on their own, paying the mortgage on their own. If the car breaks, it's not on them alone to do all of the repairs. It's not on them alone. My dryer just broke this week. There is nobody to go not only financially but the time management and those types of things that all starts to fall on me instead of being a shared load. And some of the other things are that like I'm still the mom that has to go pick my son up from school. Yesterday he was sent home. He has a very spicy iteration of autism, and he was stripping at school. So who did they call to go pick him up? Me. So even though it was, his dad's day, it's still those types of things still fall on me. So I'm not able to have your typical 9 to 5 working schedule. And I'm not able to rely on somebody else to carry some of that burden. So just thinking of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, those bottom two tiers, we have the safety and security type things in the bottom two rungs of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so once I lost that male privilege, I actually had to worry about these bottom two tiers. And so getting to self-actualization is so much more work.
mm.
So I can I talk about doing mushrooms real quick?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
we're game for anything you want to talk about. We gotta talk about it. It's so fun.
So just to kind of like help you wrap your head around this concept, I did a mushroom trip and Marilyn Monroe came and visited me on this mushroom trip and it was so much fun. It was such an enlightening experience. But one of the concepts that she told me about is she said you have to fix your canvas. And what she meant by that was when you wake up in the morning, if you feel like you need to be a 10 to show up and be out there and do things and sell and be a force in this world to be reckoned with, and you wake up feeling like a 2, you have to get all the way from a 2 to a 10 in order to actually show up in the world.
Yeah.
But if you can fix your canvas and we talked in my mushroom trip about like, oh, get eyelash extensions and make sure that your house is clean more often than not, these types of things. But if you wake up and you're at a 7 and then you only have to get to a 10, then it's so much less work and it's much easier for you to show up and be that force in the world. But once I lost that white male privilege, I went from waking up and feeling like, a 6 to a 7 most days to a 1 to a 2 on a lot of days. And so that jump from feeling like you're stuck at a 1 or a 2 when you wake up to a 10 is so much more work. Now, it's my job to make sure that I get myself up to being in that 6 to 7 range so that it's easier for me to feel like I can show up in the world or just show up as a 2. That's fine as well. Um, but that's what male privilege, white male privilege did for me, was it made it so that it was a lot less work for me to go from a 7 to a 10 than from a 2 to a 10.
Hmm. I'm curious about this just because I know a little bit about you. I don't know all of the things. When you got divorced, how did that time with you leaving religion? Because one of the things I noticed, this is like my story is when I left religion, people didn't know about it, but like when I was public about it, all of the sudden I had an audience who was mostly of this religion, and all of a sudden, like my sales, I'm gonna tell you right now, y'all listening to me right now. You guys saw this several years ago. They tanked. They tanked. And I'm like, funny, y'all, because I left this religion, I mean, years ago. I was just more vocal about it that year. But because I was more vocal about it that year, all of a sudden, all of these people that used to buy from me, they were like, I guess if you're not the same religion as me, I'm gonna go off the planet and do the thing and go over there. Because I was kind of like super interestingly married, but additionally, I still was acting as single parent and single breadwinner through like a marriage. And so like I had a symbolic other person that did nothing, and I was still in charge of everything, and still like I did all of the things a single parent would do. In fact, I think it was easier to be the, because we're divorced now. I'm like, that has been way easier than trying to be
I think it's just
single parent married at the
interesting.
same time. But I actually had a bigger drop off going through a more public, hey, I'm not in this religion anymore. There was like religious privilege, white male privilege, and I like lost all of those the last few years. So that has been very fascinating. So I guess my question to you is, how did your divorce time with leaving religion, and how did you see those things change within that as well?
Yeah, so I left religion when I came across some documentation about the history of the religion that I was in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And so I read this infamous letter in 2014, and my ex-husband and I, at this point, I told him that I had read it. He was very upset with me, and I was like, "There's no way I can believe now. Like I can't shove the toothpaste back in the tube." And he had said, "Well, I guess we have to get divorced now." Well, 2 days later, we found out we were pregnant.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so that was a doozy. So I ended up having my son in 2015, and we stuck together. And in 20 at the end of 2015, a very controversial policy came out from the church that we were associated with, and I was like, nope, I cannot do this. And so I was very fortunate to have a horrible pregnancy. So I was able to actually just like skip church for a year without anybody really noticing. And then 2016, we ended up moving into a new ward, and I had written a letter to some of the leaders about, like, I don't believe the same things that you do, but I still feel like you guys are my people and I want to be included in this community. And in the women's class that I was in, one of the leaders stood up and said, if you don't believe X, Y, and Z, you don't belong here. And so I was like, okay, there, that's fine. I will go. And so I stopped attending then. And then in 2018, I left, finally officially resigned over LGBT issues. And so that was my journey there. And then we stayed together 4 more years after that. And so it was a very, very difficult 8 years. He'll tell you the same. Like, we both are like, why weren't we done so much sooner? This did not make sense. And so then I left the marriage in 2022. And it was at that point also that uh, I had left the church over LGBTQ issues, but I had a really hard time during COVID having a disabled child with the lockdowns and navigating like how do I feel about like the Republican Party versus the Democratic Party because the lockdowns are not there are no accommodations being made for developmentally disabled children. And this is a huge problem for me and so many families like mine. And so I have done this like dance back and forth between like, well, what side do I want to agree with? Because both sides were harming marginalized communities in different ways. And so I ended up leaving the Republican Party, and that's when I lost my clients,
Mm,
was leaving politics,
that makes a
leaving
lot of sense to me.
their
Yeah.
political point of view, and they just disappeared. Or I ended up, there's a lot of them that I ended up walking away from because I'm like, I'm not here for your QAnon perspectives that are harming people. So anyway, yeah, definitely it's a case of a changed worldview
Hmm.
made it so that I had this massive audience that I wouldn't say massive. It was enough that I was making six figures, okay? Um, but it disappeared because I had a different perspective and worldview now.
Yeah. That's, I'm going to say very, very similar. Like good six
Hmm.
figures, had been making it for a good 10 years at that point.
Hmm.
A bit of a change in how I viewed the world. And then all of a sudden, but like the interesting thing too is I feel like both of us have found our voice, our uniqueness, our like this is the things we believe in, and we are going to be like brazen about it. And this
Yeah.
is the thing I want the audience to know is like you there are times I'm not going to lie, like when you get out and decide to be like I would say your ridiculous self, you
Yeah.
say the things you believe, you leave the things that aren't serving you, you align more, you go on. Like I'm not going to say people aren't going to fall away, but when you do it and you have a true heart with it, like over time the right people come in and the clients are fantastic and like things come around. But I'm not going to say it doesn't have a struggle bus period of time. It's why a lot of people don't
Mhm.
do it.
Absolutely. So the clients that I have now are incredible. I have clients who make millions of dollars. I have clients that are from marginalized communities. I have clients who um, are just doing some really amazing things in the world that I wasn't able to connect with and feel maybe even good enough for, or like I was allowed to work with them
Yep.
before. But now that I've developed like deep, meaningful relationships with these people, they know that I have their back. They know that I'm defending them online every single day, that I'm fighting the fight for them. They've come to me, and I know that I am good enough. I struggled a lot more with feeling like I had the skills or was special enough to have these types of clients in the past. But now they're some of the people that I talk to every day, and it is so wonderful. I also have a far more loyal and far less dramatic audience now than I had in the past. So in the past, I honestly I feel like my experience with the coaching industry, it was such high drama. It was like this person's offended, this person says you're stealing this person, it is so it was so catty, it was so backstabbing, it was so unreliable. It was people turning on each other. It was not a good experience. But now I have a community that has my back constantly. I have uh, the this is one of the most remarkable pieces to me is that I have men in my audience that I actually like, as opposed to, I always had like the douchey dude bro coaches who
Oh
were
yeah.
always a little condescending. They'd come in to be supportive, in quotation marks for anybody who's listening, not watching. But they come in to be, supportive or just really sell to you and nag you into buying from them. Whereas today, I have so many men, I have men who have like never met me who have donated to help me to be able to start a nonprofit. And just incredible, incredible people. My business partner is a man now. Um, but every single one of them is the kind of person who's out there fighting the good fight every day with me.
Mm.
And I never thought that I would be the kind of person that had an audience that included men that I felt so safe with, honestly.
That's fantastic. It's so interesting that the more you have become yourself and just like shed everything that doesn't work, the more safe you are. Because I think people think the opposite. They have these layers, they have these little masks, they have all these things because they think it's going to keep them safe, and it doesn't. It
Mm-mm.
doesn't. And like I said before, there's going to be a moment where you come out as whatever it is, like leaving the church, leaving politics, leaving a marriage, coming out as, LGBTQ, whatever. There's going to be a moment where people don't understand you, but
Hmm.
it allows the people that aren't in alignment with you to fall away so that the people who are just like how you say being magnetic is like they're like going to be completely drawn in. I want to ask you about your passion for people that are LGBTQ. Where did that come from? You have a great love for people kind of in that realm.
That's a great question. So, um, when I was in eighth grade, I had somebody start a rumor that I was a lesbian, and I saw how much I was ruthlessly bullied for it the rest of the time that I was in school. And uh, I have since like in the comments sections come out as bi on my content. Uh, so I mean I am queer, but I I wasn't at that point and I hadn't even like really come out to myself. However, my mom began asking me when I was 14. She's like, "You sure you're not gay? Are you sure you're not gay?" But
The people
and then
closest to you, have you considered that it's an option
and
though?
then and then she when I got divorced and I called her up and I was like, "Mom, I'm getting divorced." And she's like, "Yeah, because you're gay." And I was like, I'm not, I hadn't really come out to myself at that point, but that's where we were at. But that experience of being ruthlessly bullied and losing all of my friends, losing everything, and seeing the experience that queer people do have for being different, that made me have some really strong feelings about how gay people should be treated. And then in coming away from religion, I ended up realizing that, there were so many. I had a friend who I grew up with who came out as trans. And and when he did, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That tracks
Thank you.
100%. And so it took me a long time to learn, the difference between like sexual orientation versus gender identity and how all of this works. And yes, they, them actually does make sense as pronouns. Um, I had to go through this whole journey to deprogram it all. But I was one of those people who like, well over half of my friends are queer of some variety. And it was finally after that that I was like, wait a second. Okay, like I have thought my whole life that everybody gets to choose whether they're straight or not. And I was like, wait a second. What does that mean about me? So it led me down the rabbit hole where I finally ended up coming out myself. I actually have my favorite drag queens here.
I love this.
These are the Boulet brothers. They have a show called Dragula, and it's horror drag. So
Oh, fun.
picture RuPaul's Drag Race. But then I also have Marilyn Monroe here, and Marilyn Monroe was bi as well. So Anyway, there's just been so many experiences, but honestly, it was how badly I was treated because somebody said that I was a lesbian. That made me so passionate and realizing how isolated I was, and I wasn't even like acknowledging or identifying that way. I can't even imagine if I was acknowledging and identifying that way at that time, how much that would have messed with my already frail mental health.
Mm. It's rough. I've seen my kids experience that. I have, I would say, two that are more on the queer spectrum, and it was rough. It was rough for both of them in many, many ways, especially like growing up in a really small town that didn't understand things and trying to like navigate all of those kinds of things. And that's that's where my passion for it comes from, is watching them. And like my one of the ones that we knew was gay really pretty early on. She was like 11, 12, and we're like, that's pretty much what we got here. It's one of those things where I had been taught something about that through religion, through politics, through everything my whole life, and then experiencing it firsthand. I'm like, nope, that has been who this child has been from birth. There's nothing defective here. She is the most absolutely amazing human ever. And you're like, everything I've been taught about this was a lie.
Right.
So,
It's a lie to keep us in gender roles so that it protects men's power and authority over women and protects the authority figures over churches, over countries, over industries. If we keep this order that women are subservient to men and then those men are subservient to their authority figures, it keeps people in power. And the second that we start to question gender roles, that
mm,
all starts to come undone.
so interesting. So you talked about earlier about this conversation you had with Marilyn. I'm a big Marilyn Monroe fan, and being like at your level 10, being out in the world doing your thing. How do you feel about kind of the expectation women have to be at that level? Because like guys, I don't, the expectation is different. They get to like, they're not wearing makeup. They're gonna like get a haircut every 6 weeks or something, and that's doing pretty well. And they're gonna throw some shit on and they're gonna go to the office. And we're gonna get up and be like, okay, is my hair colored? Are the lashes done? Did I do my makeup? Am I wearing something that's flattering for me because I want to be sexy, but not too sexy? Like it's this whole thing that women are trying to do to like a, fit in what we think is expected, and B, almost kind of, I must say, utilize the powers that we do have for good. And so like, what's your thoughts on that? What is your thought on, this expectation of showing up in the world as a woman in these ways? And what do you think about utilizing that for power?
I'll just continue on with what she told me on this mushroom trip because
Excellent.
she actually addressed this. So at the beginning of this mushroom trip, I'm sitting on the grave of the graves of a bunch of my different family members, talking to them, closing some loops that needed to be closed and whatnot with certain conversations. And the last one I was sitting on the grave of my uncle. And my uncle, he was the closest thing that I really had to a consistent father figure. I had a stepdad, but my stepdad wasn't nurturing or anything in the way that I needed. So I'm sitting on the grave of my uncle, and we're eating a snack, and I ask him, "What is this?" And then all of a sudden, Alice in Wonderland, fall through the crust of the earth, down through everything, and then I land and I start to have this conversation with Marilyn Monroe. And so I'm asking her these questions about what was it that made you be an icon throughout space and time?
Oh
What
yeah.
was it that makes you just so iconic? And she told me, she said, this is the secret. You have to know that you are the apple. And an apple is something that everybody wants. Who doesn't love an apple? It's something that you look at and it's beautiful and it's delicious. It's something that has a thin skin, but because it has such a thin skin, it's so juicy. It has a star inside. But most importantly, I want you to think about the fact that an apple is the beginning of all of the Christo-Judeo religions. All these Abrahamic religions begin with an apple. And so I want you to realize that every single day, just simply by existing, the apple funnels billions of dollars to itself. There are billions of dollars funneling to and through these churches because of what started with an apple. So if you can recognize that you are desirable right here in this moment, that you do not have to go change anything about yourself, your mere existence right here in this moment is enough, and that there are people who want to just consume you and consume, looking at you and enjoying you and having you in their presence, just the same way that people are feeling that way when it comes to religion that began with an apple. You can embody that energy and be the type of person that you can trust those things are going to flow to.
Mm.
And so she really emphasized to me, I have not followed her directions, y'all. So don't go look at my social media and be like, that's what she meant. No, I have not followed the directions. So if you do, please show us, just share with us what you've done with this. But she was like, you need to just record yourself doing everything. I don't care like what if you think that you don't look good enough. I don't care if you think it's not interesting enough. People will look at you like you're an apple and they want to consume that. And they want to they love to look at the apple. They love to enjoy the apple. They love to partake of the apple. And they want to compensate you for being an apple. So
Mm.
anyway, that's hopefully has some meaningfulness to you and not just me because of my being on psilocybin.
No, I think there was so many wise things in there. So when you have clients that come to you now, how do you express this to them? They're coming to you, they want to be seen more, they want to sell more, they want to do all of the things. What do you tell them to do? What does the actual doing look like sometimes?
So a lot of my clients come to me and I just do their social media marketing for them. But they've come to me for like photography retreats, or these clients come to me on retreats are really where we do that deep work. And so helping people to recognize that like you get to be this absolute desirable piece of fruit, right? You get to be something that is so juicy, so delicious that people just look at and they're like, "Yes, I'm gonna get that." Like it's not even a conscious choice. It's we grab apples while we're at the store, right? And so, helping people to feel confident and beautiful in themselves, doing photography retreats, that's been what my favorite thing probably so far is having people come and they get to have their hair and makeup done and they get to have uh, professional fancy photo shoots where they get to walk away with really high quality images that they haven't had that experience with when they've just hired a photographer for 2 hours. So they come in and we do it over 2 to 3 days. And it's something that makes it so that they are able to look at themselves and see themselves as that desirable apple in a way that they couldn't before. Another thing is me doing their content for them. So many of my clients, I have clients who have someone who she was a mediator at a Supreme Court in another country, and she never tells anybody. And I'm like, oh, let me just do your content for you because I can brag on you in ways that you won't brag on yourself. And so that's one of my favorite things to do is to let them just be the piece of fruit and let me just sell the piece of fruit for you. So,
Mm. So
mhm.
what would you tell to somebody out there who is thinking maybe there's a pretty privilege sort of situation? There's white man privilege, but there's also pretty girl privilege. And they're thinking to themselves, that's fine and dandy for you guys who have pretty privilege. But additionally, maybe they're thinking of themselves as not in that land. What would you tell them?
um, I don't I don't believe that there's anybody that isn't beautiful in some way. I think that your energy is what attracts people to you far more than anything. I completely agree that there's pretty privilege that gets people to look at you right then and right there. I've taught my clients about I call it the wow factor and the now factor. So the wow factor is the thing that gets people to stop and look at you and pay attention, and makes them go, wow, right? It
Yep.
can be beautiful design. It can be, your makeup. It can be the way that you look. It can be your wardrobe. It can be something like that. And then we have the now factor, which is how do we create urgency? How do we drive sales? How do we close the sale so that it actually leads somewhere, so that we're not just getting attention for the sake of attention, right? So combining this wow factor with this now factor is really important. But your wow factor does not have to be looking a particular way. I also think of there's a movie I want to say about Bob Dylan. I only saw the trailer, so this was just like a quote in the trailer, and it's not going to be an accurate quote. It's a synopsis of it. But he says something like, "You either have to be beautiful or really interesting looking. You can't be plain." And so you have to, like, it's okay if you do not have pretty privilege. There is something else really interesting about you that you can lean into. If we think of Jesse Wells, the musician, he does like folk music, and he writes a song like every day about what's happening in the world politically. No shade to Jesse, but I wouldn't look at Jesse and be like, that is a fine man. Yet he has millions and millions of us paying extreme attention to him every single day because he's doing something interesting and he's doing something meaningful. And honestly, today, 5 years ago, I would have told you need to have perfect pictures, you need to have amazing logos, you need to have amazing design. Brand strategy was my thing. That's less important now than saying something in a really interesting way online. You can scroll through your reels and your TikToks right now, and I bet you at least half of the people who are going to show up there are not pretty per se. They are people who are saying something interesting and something powerful, and they have the energy behind it, that now factor that's driving people. So, so focus on balancing out with that now factor, and realize that that wow factor does not have to be that you're pretty.
It could be that you're just pretty interesting or you have a really unique view, right? I
Yes.
also think this is what I've noticed lately as the age of AI is coming like more and more prevalent. People can just go onto AI and make their pictures look a certain way and make their presence look a certain way. And I think it's actually turning people off to a point of having things look too perfect. Too perfect reads as fake. And
Fake.
there's like this veil of like, who are you really? And I think we're also just craving authenticity with the people we're seeing like on TikToks or whatever. And so I think like the shift right now is happening to things being a little less professional looking, just so we can
Yes.
see like who you actually are. We want like a human over there. And in order for that to be the case, I have to see something about it that's like not perfect, because we don't relate to super perfect. There's something about it that we just go, I just like if they look perfect and everything looks perfect and lots of money and highly produced, and there's interest to that to a point, but also I'm like, I think we're all craving real human connections. Like, what are real people doing over there? Like, I think we're
Hmm.
magnetically drawn to that, and having your energy just be beautiful and loving and like you're doing something good, people want to follow that like a lot right now.
Absolutely. I've experienced that same thing, and like you're less polished, less highly, produced stuff. Well, it just goes so much further right now. And I think you're spot on that it's AI. AI has us like, I don't trust any of this. I don't believe that any of this is real. And if you are producing and cranking things out super fast, it's super high quality constantly, either you have a massive team or you're using AI. However, I would not say that AI is producing high quality, but
Yeah.
it looks high quality at first first, glance.
Yeah, yeah. Let's change topics on that real quick, and I want to just dive into how you got into Mormon true crime because you have all this, like, you work with these clients and you help them do sales and all the social media stuff, and then you're like, additionally, Mormon true crime. What interested you about that?
So, I pivoted the channel a little bit. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But
Yeah.
what got me into it, was I was fresh out of my divorce and I just wanted to, have a distraction from life, at that moment. And Lori Vallow Daybell was going on trial, and her trial. They didn't video live stream it at all. So the only way to consume her trial was to listen to the trial at the end of the day, audio. So there was no video, there was nothing, but you could listen to the testimonies after. And people were not very happy about this. So I listened to every single testimony, every single day, and I gave a synopsis on TikTok of every single testimony in her trial. And then immediately at the end of her trial, Corey Richins was arrested for killing her husband, allegedly. And so I was like, what? This is crazy. Like we have this case wrapping up and now this one's starting. Are you kidding me? And then I ended up just doing a silly TikTok that was like, no, you're not crazy. There is a lot of Mormon true crime, like this case. And I listed out a bunch of couples who were involved with Mormon true crime cases, or Mormons who were couples that were in various cases. And I ended up getting 16,000 followers overnight from that one TikTok. And I ended up putting out several episodes on YouTube of Mormon true crime cases. And then my son developed a brain infection, and well, he didn't develop it, it just worsened. And so I had to take a break from it, but I am currently recording a new one, or a new set of stories. But Mormon true crime led me down this really interesting rabbit hole where I realized that the most bizarre Mormon true crime cases were not necessarily super religious ones. It was ones where the person politically radicalized, arguably because of Mormonism, but they politically radicalized, and in their political radicalization, they committed crazy, weird crimes. And so, anyway, we're in the process right now of recording the story of Christopher Arthur, who was a YouTuber who was teaching, he was a veteran teaching people how to use wartime tactics to be able to defend and protect their homes and fight back against a tyrannical government, including how to kidnap the chief of police and how to torture him to be able to get control of the city, the county's bank account, etc. It's insane. And the Christopher Arthur, his wife, her ex-husband, had been reporting Christopher Arthur to the FBI and ATF and Sheriff's Department and everybody that he could for 5 years. Nobody listened to him until there was a shootout with the police with a man named Joshua Blessed, who turned out to be one of Christopher Arthur's followers.
Oh, wow.
And so then Christopher Arthur was finally arrested and given 25 years in prison for terrorism. But nobody knows about this. Nobody knows this story, and it's such a key example of people who politically radicalize and become crazy criminals, and religion plays a role in it as well.
Yeah, for sure. For our audience who doesn't know some of the more famous Mormon crimes and murders, can you list off a few that they would have gone, oh, I did not know that Mormonism was involved in that.
Yeah, so Elizabeth Smart, for sure.
Yep.
Is her kidnapping Uh, he was very, very influenced by Mormonism. Um, and the Laffertys Under the Banner of Heaven, if you've seen the Hulu show Under the Banner of Heaven, that one, um, very, very Mormon. There was sorry, I'm thinking of a few different ones right now. The Daybells, of course, Chad and Lori Daybell, who they believed that everybody around them was zombies, and so they took the lives of four different people associated with them. If you saw Abducted in Plain Sight on Netflix, where the 12-year-old girl was kidnapped by a man and convinced that she was the child of aliens, and he assaulted her for 4 years and he kidnapped her again during this 4 years and whatnot. And the guy got the parents to have sexual encounters with him so that they would stay quiet. That's a Mormon crime that a lot of people know about as well. And then there's, of course, the FLDS, the polygamists, and all the crazy stories that go with them. But I actually have about 80 different cases that I was able to identify in research.
Wow, that's crazy. When does your new episodes coming out for the Mormon True Crime stuff?
We're going to be recording the last of our three that we're getting ready to drop on Christopher Arthur. We're recording that last one this week. So sometime in November, we'll be dropping this new set.
That is so cool. I love watching those. They are so fascinating, and it serves as a warning call to these radicalized, whether it be religion or politics. I think they get to be bed buddies a little bit over time, but
Absolutely.
the harm that can happen when you go down those roads a little too far without thinking with your entire head put on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, are you ready for a quick lightning round?
Sure I am.
Okay. Tell me one myth about money that needs to die right now.
That it makes you a bad person, that
Mm,
it corrupts you.
love it. What's a red flag you see in activist spaces that we're not talking about enough?
Not listening to the people that you're advocating for.
That's such a good one. Something that we haven't talked about that you're obsessed with right now.
Mm. I'm like, what? Uh, I'm like, gosh, drag is much the only thing I'm obsessed with right now, and we did cover it briefly. So can I just use that as my excuse? My
You
double down on drag.
double down on drag. Double down
Drag
on
kings.
drag. Okay.
That's my answer is drag kings.
Okay, cool. Oh, what's one part of your personality you were told to tone down that now is one of your favorite parts of you?
My potty mouth.
Mm, potty mouth for sure. I love it. Okay, if you had a billboard that all women could see tomorrow, what would it say?
Mm. Fuck the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Mm. I know it's cliche, but damn, that's what we have to do.
Okay, we're gonna end a little bit with more on the patriarchy. Tell us a little bit about why. Why fuck the patriarchy? What it's a system that's been around in the United States anyway. Not all cultures are, some are matriarchy. I mean, we have lots of cultures around the world, but why here right now should we be done with patriarchy?
It's literally what's destroying the world and society and ripping us apart from the inside out.
Because
Because, okay, I can go longer for this answer. Okay.
you can go a little bit longer because we're going to end, but we'll wrap this with this one. So I'm going to give you a little bit more time.
Okay. Uh, so they've convinced women and children that we don't matter, that we need to be subservient, and it gives all of the power, it gives all of the authority to a select handful of men. It makes other men think that one day they will get that power, so they don't push back against said power because one day maybe they might have it and they don't want people pushing back against them. And it made it so that women We're afraid to be smart. We're afraid to be influential. We're afraid to be healers. We're afraid to do things that matter in the world because men are here to protect us. And if we believe, as long as we believe that men are here to protect us, even though they're the ones who have systematically killed us anytime we've done anything meaningful in the world, it keeps them in power. And we've seen the horrible things that they're doing with that power.
Hmm. It kind of reminds me of how, and my listeners should know by now, I'm not a fan of organized religion, how organized religions come in and tell you that you're inherently bad and that you need somebody or an organization to save you in order for you to like not burn in hell forever, right? And so as long as you believe that, as long as you need somebody to save you, same thing with patriarchy. Like if women automatically need protecting, we need somebody to save this, then they get to keep in power. And when they don't keep in power, what's the benefit of that?
If men don't keep power, or sorry,
Yeah,
yeah,
if men are not in power anymore,
then we're going to actually take care of people. We're going to actually take care of the marginalized. We're going to actually take care of the developmentally disabled. We're going to actually take care of people and take care of the planet. Like ending the patriarchal rule, the literal planet and humanity depend on it.
Love it. This is what I'll say about it is I think in societies when we look at overthrowing something, like you look through history, the United States overthrew British rule and the French quickly after overthrew their rule. The thing that I think we did right at that time in the 1700s was came to a medium place where we're like, okay, we don't need a king. We don't need all of these things to rule over us. We need to collectively put this thing together. So that would be my thing I want to say about this is, yeah, it's one thing to get rid of a system that's not working. It's a whole other thing to have a plan in place to not just rush to be the opposite and go, okay, we'll just put a king in that's over this side and overcorrect all that way. It is like finding this way where we can connect together, see each other with love, find ways to heal, find ways to represent the people that we wanted to represent in the first place, and make sure that when that falls, we have systems in place where we're like, okay, this is what's important to us. We're not going to let it happen again, where there's a big ruler who's going to claim all the power and make everyone else look stupid and bad, because I don't feel like any healing actually happens through that. My whole idea of everything through Ridiculously You is healing happens at the frequency of love. And when we can understand each other and love each other, that is how we heal all the way together. So that's my gig. Beth, I want to thank you so much for being here, adding a little fun and rowdiness to our group. Beth, where can everyone find you?
Just find Beth Magnetic on Facebook. You'll be able to find my best spice there.
All the best spice, Beth Magnetic on Facebook. I follow her there. She's so fantastic. You definitely want to follow her there. With all of that, this has been Julie May and the Ridiculously You podcast, and we will see you guys next time.
Share the spark, take it higher, hit subscribe, bring a friend, let the wildness never end. Tap in, stand true, this is your crew.